3 months gluten-free, reading every label, buying certified products, doing everything right. But the brain fog keeps rolling back in, the joint pain returns. You spend hours trying to figure out what you ate wrong. Then you discover the truth. Your toaster has been poisoning you every morning with your gluten-free bread. One invisible breadcrumb undoing weeks of careful eating. Your kitchen is waging war against your health. A single microscopic particle contains enough gluten to trigger symptoms for weeks. Those mystery flare-ups aren't random. They're coming from contamination sources hiding in plain sight. Today we're hunting down every invisible enemy. I will show you exactly what's betraying your health and how to build a truly safe space. Let's start with the obvious suspects that need to disappear from your kitchen immediately. These aren't suggestions. They're contamination bombs waiting to destroy your health. Your wooden cutting boards go first. Wood is porous, which means gluten particles embed deep into the grain where no amount of scrubbing can reach them. Every time you slice gluten-free bread on that board, you're grinding it into microscopic gluten residue that's been living there for years. Throw them out. All of them. That pasta strainer with the tiny holes? Gone. Gluten particles are smaller than those mesh openings, which means they're permanently trapped in there. You can scrub until your hands bleed. Those particles aren't coming out. The same goes for any colander, sifter, or fine mesh tool that's ever touched regular flour. Your toaster is the most dangerous appliance in your kitchen. Those heating elements and crumb trays are gluten graveyards. Even if you think you cleaned it, microscopic particles are welded onto those coils by heat. One pop of gluten-free bread sends those particles flying directly onto your food. Replace it or designate it gluten-only and buy a separate one. Cast iron pans that have been seasoned with regular flour need to go. That seasoning layer is literally baked on gluten. You cannot strip it without destroying the pan, and every time you cook, you're heating up gluten residue that transfers to your food. Start over with new cast iron or switch to stainless steel. Your flour canister is contaminated even if you emptied it and washed it. Flour particles create an invisible dust that clings to every surface. Those particles become airborne every time you open the container, contaminating whatever you put inside. Get a brand new, dedicated gluten-free storage system. Wooden spoons and utensils are porous contamination traps. Gluten proteins bind to wood fibers and never fully wash out. Every stir releases particles into your food. Replace them with stainless steel, silicone, or new wooden utensils that will only touch gluten-free ingredients. Your stand mixer and food processor need complete replacement if they've processed regular flour. Those internal gears, gaskets, and hard-to-reach crevices harbor gluten particles that survive washing. Professional bakeries replace entire machines when switching to gluten-free production because they know cleaning isn't enough. Non-stick pans with scratches become gluten repositories. Those scratches trap particles that washing can't remove. If your non-stick surfaces show any wear, replace them. Smooth surfaces are essential for truly clean cooking. Your spice rack is a hidden contamination source. Many spices contain anti-caking agents derived from wheat, but even pure spices get contaminated by airborne flour particles in your kitchen. If you've been baking with regular flour, those spice containers have been collecting gluten dust. Start fresh with new spices in new containers. Shared condiment jars are contamination disasters. That peanut butter jar where someone stuck a knife covered in regular breadcrumbs. Contaminated forever. The jam jar, the butter container, the cream cheese. If regular bread has touched the utensil that went into these containers, the entire contents are unsafe. Buy new condiments and establish strict no double dipping rules. Your dishwasher isn't cleaning gluten away, it's spreading it around. Gluten proteins are sticky and heat resistant. Your dishwasher's spray arms, filters, and internal surfaces are coated with gluten residue that gets redistributed onto every dish. You need to deep clean your dishwasher with specialized enzyme cleaners designed to break down gluten proteins, or hand wash everything gluten-free separately. Even your kitchen towels and sponges are contaminated. They've absorbed gluten particles from wiping down surfaces and cleaning dishes. These particles transfer back to clean surfaces and dishes every time you use them. Replace all cleaning supplies and establish separate cleaning tools for gluten-free areas. This purge feels extreme because it is extreme. But here's the reality. Gluten contamination is invisible, and your symptoms are real. Every item on this list has betrayed people who thought they were being careful. The cost of replacement is nothing compared to the cost of continued contamination. Now we enter the real danger zone, sharing kitchen space with gluten eaters. This is where most people think they're being careful but are actually poisoning themselves daily through invisible contamination, pathways they never considered. Counter surfaces become gluten transfer stations the moment someone makes a sandwich. Flour particles don't just disappear when you wipe with a regular sponge, they spread into microscopic films across your entire workspace. That clean counter where you prep your gluten-free meals is actually coated with residue from every piece of bread, every cookie, every flour-dusted surface that's touched it. You need dedicated counter space that gluten never touches, or you need to sanitize with enzyme cleaners specifically designed to break down gluten proteins before every use. Regular cleaning products don't eliminate gluten, they just move it around. Your refrigerator is a contamination nightmare disguised as food storage. Every time someone opens a package of regular bread or crackers near the fridge, particles become airborne and settle on every surface inside. Those particles land on your gluten-free products, contaminating them before you even open them. The butter compartment is particularly dangerous. Butter picks up every particle from knives used on regular bread, then transfers those particles to everything else it touches. If your household shares butter, you're sharing gluten contamination. You need separate butter, separate condiments, and separate storage areas for everything gluten-free. Shared appliances are contamination factories running 24/7, that microwave where someone heated regular pizza. The steam carried gluten particles to every internal surface. Your gluten-free leftovers get contaminated every time you reheat them. The coffee maker where someone stirred their regular cookies into their coffee. Those particles are now part of your morning routine. Even your oven becomes a contamination chamber. When regular bread bakes, gluten proteins become airborne and coat every internal surface. Your gluten-free foods bake in an atmosphere of gluten particles. You need dedicated baking sheets, separate racks, and thorough cleaning between any regular and gluten-free cooking. The sink represents the central contamination hub of shared kitchens. Every gluten-containing dish, utensil, and surface gets washed there, creating a constant stream of gluten particles down the drain and splashing back onto everything around it. Your clean gluten-free dishes are getting contaminated during the washing process itself. You need a systematic approach. Wash all gluten items first, thoroughly clean the sink with enzyme cleaners, then wash gluten-free items separately. Or establish completely separate washing areas and tools. Shared cooking oils become gluten repositories. That oil used to fry regular breaded chicken or flour-dusted vegetables is now contaminated forever. Gluten particles don't cook out, they accumulate. Every time you use that oil for gluten-free cooking, you're deep frying your food in gluten contamination. The spice situation gets worse in shared kitchens. Not only are your spices collecting airborne gluten particles, but shared measuring spoons spread contamination between containers. That teaspoon used in regular flour, then dipped into your paprika, just contaminated your entire spice collection. Your dish towels become contamination spreaders. They dry regular dishes, absorb gluten particles, then transfer those particles to your gluten-free dishes. Every surface they touch gets contaminated. You need completely separate dish towels, or better yet, air dry everything gluten-free. The most insidious contamination happens through cross-contact during food prep. Someone cuts regular bread, rinses the knife, then cuts your gluten-free cheese. That rinse didn't remove microscopic gluten particles, it just spread them around. Now your cheese is contaminated, and every surface that cheese touches becomes contaminated. Shared kitchen survival requires militant protocols that seem extreme, but are actually minimum safety standards. You are not being paranoid. You are being medically necessary in an environment designed to make you sick. The reality hits hard. Sharing kitchen space with gluten is like sharing air with someone who was constantly releasing invisible poison. Every breath, every surface, every shared tool becomes a potential contamination source that can trigger weeks of symptoms from a single microscopic exposure. After clearing out the contamination sources and navigating the shared kitchen minefield, you need to build a fortress of safety that actually protects your health. This isn't about buying expensive gadgets. It's about creating systems that make contamination impossible. Start with dedicated storage that creates physical barriers between safe and unsafe foods. Your gluten-free items need their own cabinets, preferably upper cabinets where airborne particles are less likely to settle. Use airtight containers for everything, even items that came in sealed packages. That certified gluten-free pasta isn't safe if it's stored next to regular crackers that shed particles every time someone opens the box. Label everything with bright, unmistakable markers. Not cute chalkboard labels. Aggressive, impossible to ignore warnings that protect you when you're tired, distracted, or someone else is helping in your kitchen. Your gluten-free zone should be obvious to anyone who enters your space. Establish separate prep areas that never cross-contaminate. If you can't dedicate entire counter sections, use large cutting boards as temporary safe zones. But these boards must be stored away from any gluten contact and cleaned with enzyme-based cleaners designed to break down gluten proteins. Regular dish soap doesn't eliminate gluten, it just spreads it around. Your cooking equipment needs complete separation. Separate pans, separate utensils, separate everything that touches food. Store these items in your dedicated gluten-free cabinets, where they can't accidentally get mixed with contaminated tools. Color coding works. Choose one color for all gluten-free equipment and never deviate. Create a cleaning protocol that actually eliminates contamination instead of spreading it. Enzyme cleaners that specifically target gluten proteins are essential. Regular cleaners can't break down these sticky proteins. Clean gluten-free areas first, then contaminated areas, using separate cleaning supplies for each. Your gluten-free sponges and towels never touch anything that's been near gluten. Establish air quality control in your cooking space. Flour particles become airborne and settle everywhere during regular baking. If someone in your household bakes with regular flour, those particles contaminate every surface in your kitchen. You need either complete separation during flour use or air purification systems that capture these particles before they settle. Your refrigerator and freezer need internal organization systems that prevent cross-contamination. Gluten-free items go on upper shelves where particles can't fall onto them from contaminated foods above. Use separate containers for everything, even items that seem sealed. That regular bread stored above your gluten-free cheese is dropping particles every time someone opens the bag. Develop emergency protocols for when contamination happens, because it will happen. Someone will use your gluten-free pan for regular pasta, or mix up the containers, or forget the rules. You need immediate decontamination procedures and backup supplies so one mistake doesn't derail your entire safe zone. The most crucial element is consistency. These protocols only work if they're followed every single time, by every person who uses your kitchen. One careless moment undoes weeks of careful preparation. Your safe zone isn't a suggestion. It's a medical necessity that requires absolute commitment. Building this level of protection feels excessive until you realize it's actually the minimum standard for preventing contamination. Every shortcut, every just this once exception, every moment of relaxed vigilance creates opportunities for the invisible enemy to strike. Your safe zone becomes your sanctuary, the one place where you can cook and eat without fear, without symptoms, without the constant anxiety of wondering what microscopic particles might be sabotaging your health.